Good morning, family. Welcome. Mr. Frederick, the good word. Hope everyone's having a wonderful, beautiful day. All right. Okay, guys, today the good word is going to be about chances, excuses. For them is your demise. All right. So, chances, excuses is your demise. But before we get going with that, let's start with the biblical verse for today. Let's see here, which is Psalms 31. Psalms 31. Modern woman. Seek wisdom, be honest, keep serving, be faithful, be disciplined, be virtuous, stay strong, seek the Lord, stay humble, stay diligent, live stewardship, be self-controlled. Amen. Absolutely. Yes, we need that. All right, guys. So, you might say, Mr. Frederick, okay, hold on. Let's go into the quote of the day. I almost forgot. The quote of the day, let's see here. Quote of the day. Quote of the day is by Carlos Santana. The most valuable possession you can own is an open heart. The most powerful weapon you can be is an instrument of peace. Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Carlos Santana, I have a lot of respect for him. Man's overcome a lot. All right, guys. So we're going to talk about chances, excuses, and how that can be your demise. Let's start by saying, when it's nothing wrong with giving people chances in life. Okay, you want chances. Whatever you give out, that's what you want to get back from people. When it becomes a problem, when you start doing it too much of anything is a problem. So when you do too much chance, too many chances, too many excuses for people, it's going to eventually come back to bite you. And sometimes it might be, your complete demise. So that's why it's so dangerous. When you start to see individuals display actions, behaviors that are detrimental to you, you have to remove yourself from them. You have to get away from them. You have to set up boundaries. It's no other way, okay? Because they can really, really take you down in this life. Where does it start? It starts in early childhood, typically. If you have a parent that has been abusive, neglectful, any of these negative type of behaviors towards you early on in childhood, you're more than likely going to take that into your life, into the rest of your life, where you will allow individuals to be that way towards you, because that first relationship with particularly your mother is that important. The more sick that person is mentally and her behavior towards you in any kind of way, neglecting, abuse, whatever, words, however she carried it out, it's going to affect you. You might not want to admit it, because we all want to think about mom as being great and wonderful, and she did give us life, so we give her respect for that. But she has to take accountability for her actions as well that are detrimental towards us. And you have to do that, with any parent, okay? Because if you don't, it will not only affect you in a negative way and how you deal with people, can affect you in your parenting in every walk of your life. And so this teaches you how to have relationships with everyone else, trust, respect, kindness, boundaries. All of these things start with your initial relationship with your mother. And your father also plays a role in that as well. Your discipline, your honor, all of these things, they're all interwoven. So you have to examine those relationships when you give people too many chances. If you had a parent like that and that was the case and there was some negativity in there, you won't be as quick to set those boundaries, because you have to be that way, or you believe in your mind, with your mother or your father, your parents. You feel like you need to do this, you have to keep those relationships. But in reality, if those relationships are that negative, it's that detrimental, especially if they don't take accountability. If they're liars, if they're deceivers, they're sociopaths, they have a sickness or illness, they can't take accountability. They'll throw you under the bus for other people. Those types of individuals don't deserve a certain level of respect. They really don't, because they don't care about you. Now, you don't have to internalize it and make that about you. That's their problem. So you decide personally how far you want to deal with them. But the reality is that, you see the writing on the wall, what type of person that is. You can feel sorry for them. Like I said, you decide how much respect to give them, how much interaction. That's on your own personal discretion. But I can tell you, the more you leeway you give that person, the more it's going to affect you in a negative way. So I suggest give them the minimum of whatever, but you don't have to give them anything, because they really didn't give you anything. Okay, so this is just the reality of it. It's all on you. But that creates a double-minded type of person in yourself, where you know what's right and wrong, but you have an internal confusion because you are trying to still seek that love, seek that type of relationship with, your mother. It's a mother wound, and that can really bother you and hinder you in life, especially with relationships of the opposite sex, man or female, whichever you are. So you have to have some sort of resolution within yourself internally as to that relationship and how you relate to others, because that does teach you how to relate to everyone in the world that you engage with in the future. So when you're double-minded, what you got to understand is that you are going to make a lot of decisions that aren't going to make sense, and it's going to come off like, what are you saying? And it's because you have that internal fight of, hey, I want this, but hey, this is what it is. And in the end, I believe you have to be in reality. You have to live in reality. Okay, so reality is you wanted to have a healthy, good relationship with that mother or father, but if it wasn't, it wasn't. So I believe reality, the truth sets you free. Once you look at things in a truthful manner, you start to do that with everything. Okay, and then you could address your own internal wounds and things that, you have to work on within yourself. So that's key. Low standards. That sets the tone for you having low standards. If you had that type of parent, how's your standards going to be for others? Okay, particularly when you're dealing with intimate relationships. If your standards are that low from a parent, and you are dealing with them, you can't heal where you've been hurt. So now your standards are low, so you're accepting anything. And when you set your standards that low, before you know it, you're like, how in the world did I get around this person? This person does everything negative that I don't agree with. But it's because you set your standards low. So now you let the gates wide open for anybody to get in. People that are just not spiritually in line with you. They're not mentally, physically. You work out, they don't. You go to church, they don't believe in God. It throws everything off, because what happens is, and at the same time, you're still seeking, which is natural for all humans to seek that bond, that love, that tight relationship, okay? But you have to see it for what it is. If it's not that, it's not that. You didn't get it, you didn't get it. But you can't seek it from others outside. You have to internalize it, and you have to accept you didn't get it, but nurture what you have within yourself. So your standards were low and that's what also causes you to give people chances, excuses, because the beginning, what were you working with? So that's why you got to forgive yourself. You didn't have much to work with, and you got to be honest about that. Another thing that happened, you start to compromise. You will start to compromise yourself. So you'll make deals. You'll be like, okay, well, at least I'm getting this from the person. At least I'm getting that. And that's no good, family, because what you need is a healthy relationship where certain standards are there. And it's not, I'm going to compromise this. I'm going to neglect myself in this way to get this, because nothing will suffice for what you need fundamentally to be a healthy human being. Nothing will suffice for that. No material gain, no physical pleasure. None of these things will be long lasting and fulfilling you so you could be your best self. So don't compromise. You can't compromise out here. That's an appetite for destruction. Another thing that happens is, and that's also a personal imprisonment for you. You're going to always feel caged with that. You're going to feel like you can't really stretch out and do all the things that you're supposed to do. And you also become a target for predators. So let me explain that. When you are given chances, given excuses, people are observing where your boundaries are. They're looking at you as they interact with you. What do you let them get away with? Just like a little kid. You let a little kid eat too much candy, let a little kid run around and, throw stuff at you, whatever. You have to show them no. And you have to be very serious and diligent about that, or you have to leave them alone. Of course, not the kid, but as you get older and you're dealing with people, you can't let them overstep your boundaries. But what happens is a predator sees that you're loose with your boundaries and they get in and they see an opportunity, or opportunists. They don't have real legitimate, they don't have legitimately good intentions for you, but they just see an opportunity out of you. This person lets me get away with this. So, wow, ooh, got one. And now they try to weasel their way in your life. And you have, before you know it, you have a snake. You have a snake next to you. And they're only there because of what they can get and how they can take advantage of you. And that's a very dangerous person to have around you. You're blessed if you can get away from them. Lord, hopefully you have the Lord's protection. Open your eyes. And if you're using substances, liquor, weed, drugs, whatever, that's going to exacerbate the problem. That's going to make it even worse. So now you have a substance that is clouding your vision. So you're staying and keeping that person around you longer than you should, and numbing your initial wounds, your initial issues that you have from your past. So you see, that's where the substances definitely aren't working for you, okay? Just a temporary Band-Aid. Nothing solves the real deal, the real help that you need. So that's what happens. You become a target for predators and giving those chances, and you're giving permission, for yourself to get mistreated. Okay, also, it causes a delusional existence. So what happens a lot of times in childhood with children that have been abused, neglected, mistreated by a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be any sort of figure that was an authority figure over you at the time, okay, in your developmental years. What happens is now you might practice detachment, where you're not in touch with your true self. You're detaching in order to survive that environment that is toxic, okay, that is abusive, that is an environment you shouldn't be in. Okay, so now you detach and you are not in touch with you. Things that should bother you, they're not bothering you as much as they should, when they should, because it's dangerous. It's like, ouch, I got burned. But if you numb yourself and you get burned, what's going to happen? You're not going to feel that burn the way you should feel it. You have nerves so you can react and protect yourself. Now, child growing up in these tumultuous environments, they don't get a healthy version of that because they still had to be around these people. Okay, so it's very essential to, when you get the chance, acknowledge your issues with these types of toxicity that you've experienced and distance yourself from those individuals. Like I said, you decide how far to go with his communication or whatever. That's on you. You don't owe them anything. But the reality is it is on you to acknowledge it. Okay, so the detachment hurts you in all your relationships, in every aspect of your life. You need to be aware. You need to be very self-conscious. You need to be self-aware of everything that's going on around you, because the more aware you are, it doesn't mean you have to react, but it does mean you acknowledge it. And now that space in between the event and by the time it hits you, you have time to decide how to respond. Okay, but if you detach, none of that's even happening. That's the problem with detachment. You're not doing anything. When, it's like somebody take a little knife and they poke you. Okay, now the first poke you didn't feel, before you know it, you're bleeding out. That's the problem. All right, another thing is what you will find is emotional support. You will find that when you give people chances, excuses, you're like getting emotional support from individuals that don't even have it to really give you, but they're there. And you are interpreting it in your mind like it's emotional support, but they're just there. and they're being opportunists, particularly if they know some of your history. So a predator or opportunist, they take and use these things. They really don't care about you. They're just using the information to get what they can out of you. That's a very dangerous, sick person that you got to get away from as soon as you can. And what you'll notice with these individuals is the way you can always tell that they're full of it and not real is they really, like, once you get to know them for a while and you mention some of your issues, they really don't have a response. Like, they have no real empathy. They don't really care about anything you went through. They're just there to capitalize off of your toxicity and your issues that you have. So you can tell by their responses. They don't have a real feeling towards it. They don't have any empathy towards whatever you went through. So now first they're going to fake like they do. Okay, but you'll see in the end, it's no real empathy. They don't care. They'll tell your business to anyone. They don't care about, actually, they're going to use it against you. This is literally the definition of sleeping with the enemy, family. Again, chances and excuses. That's why it's so important when you see these people, identify them from the beginning, and you see that they are bad people, that they are negative influences in your life, remove them. Don't wait for the second, third, fourth time. Now, maybe 2 chances you might see, okay, well, first time, maybe they're having a bad day. Second time, third time, by the third time, you definitely get rid of them. I don't care if it's a word. I don't care if it's an action. Definitely betrayal. Any betrayal, if you forgive it, it's on your own. It's on your own, because once you forgive someone who betrays you, you have to understand it's not the betrayal. It's what's behind the betrayal. It's what's behind the betrayal that says how they feel about you, that says how valuable. Because think about it. Someone who really values you are not going to risk losing you by betraying you. Not once. Because they don't want to lose you. Now, if you're not worth, if you're worth losing or risking losing, you don't need to be with them. You want to be with someone's like, hey, this person's way too valuable to me for me to ever lose. So betrayal, in my opinion, that's inexcusable. You got to leave. Whatever the situation is, you have to part ways with that person. Very important. So remember, guys, don't be a victim of giving people too many chances and excuses, because it can be your demise. And the sooner you get away from these enemies, you'll be able to recognize them, and you have a safe distance. Now, if they come attack from that distance, you know they're your enemy now. So it's clearly defined. You are the enemy, and it's a battle at this point. You can have peace. It's just like, when you have a war overseas or even here, wherever, you have a time where, okay, it's peace, it's no battle, but that's the enemy. You can never ever get it confused in your mind that this is not the enemy. This is an ally, or this is a neutral. No, that's always an enemy. Never a friend. Never an ally. Once an enemy, it was Kevin Gates that said it. I love that quote. But once an enemy, you can never be a friend of mine. You're an enemy forever. And that's what it is, because what led you to that point. Now, see, that's the benefit of if you were very unhealed and you gave a lot of chances. The benefit of that is you've given this person so many chances that there's no way that you should ever have them around you again in any kind of, because you've given them way too many already. So with everything that we do, God has a very special, wonderful way of making it work for you. That goes back to all things work out for the good of those, okay? And that's what it is. Those who believe in the Lord. So when you have made the mistake of giving all of these negative individuals chances and excuses, and by that time, never again. This person stays over there. You keep them away from you. So any negativity coming towards you is coming from that enemy. You have no doubt who the enemy is. Enemy must be identified, and you have your defenses up. You know what I mean? So it's on at that point. You leave them alone. They stay on their side of the borders. You stay on your borders. But you know that is your enemy. Period. Just simple as that. So I think I covered most of what I wanted to talk about. I did cover the emotional support part. Does open you up for manipulation. So you got to understand that you have to be your emotional support. You have to build yourself. Remember, family, you're not responsible for what happens to you. You are responsible for what you do with it. All right, guys, so I'm going to switch gears now. I want to talk about, on a lighter side of things today, I want to talk about a group. I got some really bad news from a group that I really enjoyed. I really liked as a kid growing up. Really thought they were awesome, and they, just stood out in my childhood, my early years. But Atlantic Starr lost one of their group members, founding member actually, Wayne Lewis. They're out of Greenburgh, New York, right above Manhattan. But I was really upset with this because I just, I really love that group a lot. They had a lot of wedding songs. So R.I.P. to Mr. Wayne Lewis, founding singer. Wayne Lewis, he was 68 years old. He passed, looks like sometime June 7th, or the post was on June 7th. But, okay, looks like he passed on June 5th. Oh, my glasses, woo. I tell you, when you get older, you really have to get crutches and, and help for all of the things that break down over time. But it's okay, I take it. Yeah, so he was born, looks like, they were coming out of Greenburgh, New York, 1957. Okay, April 13th, passed June 5th, 2025. Now, Atlantic Starr is one of those great groups, family, because they made songs. They reminded me a lot of Kool and the Gang, contemporary groups of their time. Kool and the Gang, kind of not so much Maids. I think Maids were a little more soulful. They were more pop, in my opinion. But they had hits like Secret Lovers. That's what we are. That was one of my favorites. But Circles of Loving, that was another one that hits. What was another song Atlantic Starr made back in the day? Silver Shadows Shining Bright. Oh yeah, that was, So Atlantic Starr is definitely an iconic group for me personally. I really just enjoyed their love ballads in the 80s. And R.I.P. to Mr. Lewis. I mean, he has a great legacy in the work that he did with Atlantic Starr. But if you guys get a chance, if you're not familiar with Atlantic Starr, if you're too young, I know all my older people know about them, but if you're too young, check out Atlantic Starr. They had a lot of good music that, especially, they had a song. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It was a wedding song. It'll come to me. But they had a lot of songs that were very, in my opinion, pop, R&B, but great for weddings, great for like any sort of love type of situation like that. I mean, let me see. I think it was Always, Do you want to meet that all a woman should be? That song there. Then they had Send For Me. That was another one. I love that song. Masterpiece. When Love Calls. Oh yeah, they had a lot. Bringing a lot back. But yeah, Atlantic Starr's a great group. And again, R.I.P. to Mr. Lewis. But I just wanted to mention them because I think that they don't get the recognition that they deserve. And they're certainly unsung. All right, guys. So next time, remember, chances, excuses can be your demise. Okay? We don't want to do that. Have to value ourselves. Remember, love what you do and do what you love. Peace.